who is going to be this week's victim?
I did them
Either
last
me or
week.
Lee.
I think it's John's turn.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. So
Okay.
I think I probably end up rotating next time.
you guys promised a short meeting, right?
Yeah, hey, sure.
But I don't know if you've noticed the minutes that we produced the last couple of meetings, but
I know. I shouldn't.
Those are minutes that I like because they do what minutes need to do. They capture any votes if there are any that were taken, and they don't spend a lot of time, basically becoming a transcript of what what people could watch online. Because they don't need to be a transcript.
I appreciate reviewing that version of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll follow that because it's fine. I'm in.
All right, so do we have to do a formal roll call because we're virtual?
I think we do. I think that was something we were told we had to do.
Lee, are you here?
I am here.
John, are you here?
I hope so.
Lisa, are you here?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Cindy?
Yep, here.
And Tim, you here?
I'm here.
All right, everybody but Peter's
What
here.
about Peter Goodney? Anybody see
Yeah,
Peter
I'm
Goodney?
here. Peter Goodney's here.
Today is
Has anybody heard from the other Peter?
2/22.
Anybody heard from the other Peter? No? Radio? Has anybody seen him around town or anything? Or?
Is he just alive and well? Like, do we have a confirmation that he's just doing okay?
I called the number that he originally gave me and there was no answer. I did that twice.
Oh,
Oh, Sam has his hand up. Maybe he knows.
Oh, Sam, hello.
Hey guys, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We received a letter of resignation today for Peter
Oh.
Lapine.
Okay.
No
Who's
details. Just he said he was resigning. So I figured that Mark or Vanessa had forwarded that to you guys, but sorry you didn't get that word. But
Okay.
thank you.
disappointing. But
Were there any, was it a one-liner or was there?
yeah,
Okay.
basically. So
All right. Well, at least we can stop worrying about his health.
Okay.
okay. Anyway, just update. So
And that was received and should we, he was listed as, I think, the vice chairman, right? So should we try to fill that? And what, are they gonna add another member? It'd be kind of like, what's the story now?
I don't know. Unlikely. It just came in this afternoon. I just saw it this evening when I checked my email. So again, I think that's all up to the committee. I don't. Looking for another member at this point is currently not on the select board's agenda, but you could certainly send a message to Lisa asking her to do whatever you folks believe is appropriate with that. She's the one who sets the agendas.
Okay.
So I don't think it's required to replace a member, but if there is somebody that would be a good candidate, it certainly could be done.
Well, we're kind of at the end of,
Right.
we're kind of at a conclusion and we've done a lot of work. It'd be kind of tough to bring somebody else up to speed.
Exactly.
We've all, I don't know, but that's not my sole decision, but I can open that up. But certainly we should at least pick we should decide whether we want to increase to fill his vacancy. And then after that, if we do decide that we should fill it, then we should, after that person gets put on, we should decide who's going to be the vice chairman. So, and I'll open that up for discussion. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit already, but anybody have any comments?
It's too late to add a member.
Proceed.
Let's just get this over with and do
Yeah.
our best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
going.
Sorry.
I'm comfortable with that. Tim, you were the only one that didn't nod.
I'm good.
Okay. So it sounds like everybody's in agreement to continue with Fabulous Six now. And I think we should move to maybe do a, vote for chairman, vice chair. But having that be a vote, I think I'll put that on for the next meeting in the actual agenda. So it's done right. I'll add that to the agenda. So if anybody, I think, I believe that there was somebody else, Tim, was it you or John?
Tim,
Yeah,
Tim showed some interest last time. Tim, do I assume that you still have interest?
yeah. I mean, I'd be fine doing it to give a backup, and I mean, yeah, I'd be okay with
Okay.
that.
So we'll have an election, nominations and election at the next meeting. I'll put that on the agenda. Okay. Next order of business, outstanding meeting minutes. It looks like 127 was circulated. Another great job. I assume everybody
It
had a
was
chance-
only a great job because I totally copied Lisa's.
I'll tell you, the minutes have been over the top. They've been fantastic. Everybody's doing an outstanding job on those minutes.
Yeah. To the point.
Considering we've been meeting so often and they have to be done, like even the selectmen meet every 2 weeks. I mean, we're doing meeting twice as often and we're still getting it done. Everybody want to accept 127's minutes? I'm getting unanimous thumbs up from everybody. So I'm gonna say that that's been, do I want to do a formal vote? Let's do a formal vote just to make sure. Lee, you good for that?
Yes,
John,
yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Peter, yes. So it's unanimous that we picked those. Okay.
Before we go on, I think we're still missing approving a set. I know.
Yeah, you're approving my set, which Lisa had commented, which I haven't updated and sent. So I'll send both next week.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, great.
And I'll update it to this format.
What's the date on those, John? Just so I can,
112, I think.
112 to be accepted.
That's the only one we're currently missing approval of the group on, right? That one.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Everything else has been posted except for the, oh, that's good. Okay, by John. All right, let's get into it. Can we post the outline?
Yep. Okay, so I started this by labeling it V3. It's exactly the same document we left off with. The only change that I did as homework was I rewrote noisily. Whoops.
Oh, good.
So I was like, oh, sorry guys, I've got a computer freaking out. I took a stab at it and then from here we can jump into it because it's the same thing as V2. But no person shall emit or allow the creation of noise audible beyond the property line while loading or unloading trucks between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. unless otherwise permitted. So I deleted
Nice.
noisily and I explained what noisily means.
I like it.
Looks good.
yeah, I like that. Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so that was the only change. If everybody seems pretty good with it, we can go into what everybody's homework was, and this document is then accurate. Great, no objections. Back to the beginning.
Before we go to the beginning, is Heather with us?
I didn't see her name yet.
Oh, okay, because if she pops up, we should probably like jump to industrial
Yep.
because we
yeah,
had questions for
if you
her.
could let me know, yeah, let me know if you see her in attendance. I did try to call there this afternoon. I called the cell number that she has listed on her email and I called the office number. I didn't know that they're not open after 12:30, so I apologize for that, but I did try to reach out to her and well, I was hoping we could, you know, what can I say? I mean, she probably had a conflict if she's not here, but I know she appeared to be very, you know, interested in based on her, you know, attendance in prior meetings. Okay, let's go ahead.
So
Section.
just for the so we know who's on, we have Debbie DeMuria, Chief Paulus, and Sam Stivers in the audience tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi there.
Okay, so do we want to start at the beginning? Does anybody feel empowered by their homework that they'd like to jump into a different section? I've driven a lot. Do you guys have a place, Lisa?
Lisa, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yep, so this top section, I shortened it slightly, and so the pink area that's highlighted there, I took out, the beginning of it, this bylaw is enacted to protect, will stay. You will take out preserve, promote the health, safety, welfare, and quality of life. So go ahead and take that out. Let's see where we're at. So this bylaw is enacted to protect the citizens of Southborough, and I would just leave it the way it is.
So does it keep the rest?
Reduction control of regulate established maximum.
So it wasn't too redundant.
I like shortening it if I can jump into this, but I'm still a fan of eliminating this whole section. I think that the beginning's pretty sweet, and we have a lot of coverage in exterior noise standards that cover the purpose of this, and it allows us to eliminate a paragraph.
I think it just kind of sets, well, it sets the scope, it sets the purpose of, and it points people to what we're doing with this bylaw, so that they understand that, you know, there's certain things that they can find within the bylaw just from reading this first paragraph. So it's really an introduction, an opening, and a place. It provides an understanding of what the purpose of the bylaw is. I think it's a good intro.
Usually, I think when I've seen scope on different things, usually it's regarding regulations, and you tend to revert back, or a policy, like a department policy, when there's something's not specifically addressed in the policy, you revert back to the scope, which kind of gives you a direction on what the policy is supposed to be heading into, like a vague definition of what it actually is. And then they'll give, you know, that's kind of what I see on scope. I like the first sentence. I mean, I didn't think we even needed a scope. Most laws don't have a scope. Most regulations do. But I'm fine with just the first sentence. The second sentence that you have highlighted, we haven't really established any noise levels.
Right.
We haven't really established premises. We have done noise producing activities. As far as inspection, we haven't really addressed inspection. I just don't necessarily think that that's a fair representation of what we've done. We did define some offenses, and of course we defined some penalties. So I don't think we've checked off all those boxes that you have that's listed there. So Cindy, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I agree that there should be a short scope. Just there should be an opening for a document, why it exists.
Yeah.
But we haven't established maximum noise levels. If you have a bylaw, it would be assumed that you're defining offenses and penalties. So I like the first sentence. I think that's just a good opening, and it captures why it exists.
Yeah, Lisa, you have your hand up.
I move, I don't know how I do this. I move to put this to the side and come back to it when we have established all the other criteria that needs to be determined before we can go ahead and agree on the scope.
Well, that's a motion to table is what,
Motion to table. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was quick.
Mhm. If you do it as a motion to table, then and the purpose is not to kill it, then it only needs a majority vote. Otherwise, it needs a 2/3 vote. Yeah. But in this case, in both, those are the same vote. They're both 4 out of 6. So I guess it doesn't matter. However, when you're ready to discuss it, you need a vote to take it off the table. That's the only problem with tabling. If
So
we
can we just-
if we don't make it a motion and you just informally say, let's come back to it, you don't need to take any votes.
Yeah, I'm fine with just informally. Let's do everything informal. I mean,
Thank you.
Yes,
We
that
can-
was my point, really.
yeah, I mean, if
Thank you,
we've
Lee.
done what I,
Made it.
if the voids that I just pointed out, if we fill them, then it might be good, but it seems like we haven't done a lot of those, so.
So we'll come back to further discussion.
I'm going
Yeah.
to put it in yellow as we've been using yellow to designate come back to this.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so do we just work down the document at this point?
Sure, yep.
Any extra effort on standards?
So
I think those, go ahead, Lee.
I think that given the email that we got from Debbie, we ought to at least acknowledge it during the meeting that we received the email that asked us to create a Saturday standard that ended at 2 p.m. And I think there was something about nighttime levels, which we have not established any levels in this document anyway. And along those lines, I would just say that I am perfectly happy with the levels that we have defined here. And I think that changing, any of these to be 2 p.m. on Saturday would be extremely restricting for like both homeowners and contractors.
I'm in agreement with that sentiment.
Mm. I mean, we based what we did on the survey and extensive discussion on, activities, that homeowners would do and you're taking into account contractors and, I'm comfortable with the hours that we came up with.
And to add to that, the planning board would have hours that are in terms of permits. This is more encompassing than just permitted work. This is, activities around your property, like landscaping and other activities like that, things that don't have a permit basis.
Right.
So being restricted by the same standards as the planning board would be somewhat out of line with what this document is seeming they're trying to take care of.
Having said that, I know that there will be an opportunity for public comment at the end of our meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
just to go off of that, we did have a hand raised. We do want to wait till the end for public comment.
Up to
I'm
you.
gonna wait till the end. Let's get through the document.
Okay. So is there any other further wordsmithing effort anybody's done in this section? Okay. So industrial noise is going to be probably the 300-pound gorilla in the room. So I don't know if we want to avoid it or just tackle it. So I know that Lisa sent some changes and suggestions to get rolling here. We could start with that, or if you guys think that we could get through the other items quickly, we could always come back to this. I don't know if you guys want to end the meeting with this or spend most of the meeting on it.
I don't think I've seen the changes beyond what we have here.
It was just it was written out so that way we could bring it up during the meeting on what the changes would be. But it seems like we can just jump right into it.
Yeah, why
Let me ask a question. We had discussed whether this type of information for our neighbors could be added as a informational package beyond the bylaw, because there's a lot of things that we could educate ourselves with. And whether the question is whether this actually does belong in the bylaw. We're not creating anything new. We're just referencing
Right.
it. And if we're referencing it, there's all kinds of stuff we should reference, including, how to work with your neighbors and all the other kinds of industrial and zoning and so forth that I wasn't aware of, and most people aren't.
Right. Go ahead, Lisa, you have your hand up.
Can,
So I have, so I've been thinking a lot about this, and certainly I looked at what Deb sent us, and I was thinking to myself, we have the opportunity as a committee to really develop a noise bylaw that will address health issues for our residents, and we don't necessarily have to use any of the templates or any of the information that's out there. I know that we originally were starting to look at the Massachusetts Health Board template. I think we've pulled some of the language from there. We've certainly borrowed from other places. But I was thinking that maybe we could add a few things in here to address the sound level at night around business and industrial noise. And as I was looking at this, I felt that we probably needed to bring in the zones that this would apply to, so people truly understand this piece of the bylaw. So I've tweaked it a little bit. I think it's important that it's here because, as I had said last time, this is a bylaw for our town, and people, I mean, we could send out pamphlets, we could have things on the website, but I don't think they're going to look for it there. I think they're going to come to the noise bylaw, and this is the place for this information, be it for business, industrial. We know that there's decibel levels in this part of the bylaw, because that's sorry, that's what Heather has provided us. It's their regulations for overseeing business and industrial noise. I think it's very important that we have it here. So I've just made just a few tweaks to it. And I think it's really important that, we really think about how this noise is going to affect our residents. Our residents live very close to all of these business and industrial zones. We're not a Westboro with there's a Westboro or a Northboro where there's a ton of land where they're setting up these businesses. They're literally right next to residential areas. So I really hope that you'll all support this and keep the business and industrial noise in the bylaw.
So Lisa, is this slightly more restrictive than what the state has?
So
mhm.
it lays out our zones, because I think it needs to be mentioned.
Mhm.
What is business, what is industrial? It includes the new downtown district. I think that may be changing. I just pulled what I could from the zoning bylaw. And the only thing that I changed was I added nighttime hours, very similar to what we've done with creating work hours for contractors, work hours for our neighbors and, for homeowners. And I've just established that nighttime limits for business industrial noise are 5 dBA above ambient or pure tone. And the nighttime hours are from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Similar to some of the stuff that we've already discussed in other areas of the bylaw.
Yeah, the email that's in the foreground. I got it.
Can you just scroll down the email a little more so that we can read the rest of it?
Yeah, it's just I think the only thing I had cut off was
Oh, okay,
the definition that would go in the definition section.
okay. Right.
So
So
Lisa,
Lisa, is there any zone that's not covered by this?
Yeah, so residential, conservation. I wasn't sure what the critical resource district is. That I couldn't find the zoning map. That might be
Probably the aqueduct.
is it the aqueduct? I was thinking might be the water. So,
Yeah.
and so obviously I don't think there's
What
no businesses going on in the water. So
is the wireless communication services district? Is that a blanket across town, or is it a specific piece of land where they exist?
I think it's wherever our cell phone towers are in town.
Okay, but it's only that parcel of land. It's not like the coverage of what the tower would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that there's a flagpole on a business area in town that has cell towers.
Yeah, that's the townhouse. In front of the townhouse, there's a cell
Yeah.
phone tower there.
There's one right on Route 9 too.
Okay.
It's I'm trying to think who's in there. It's like right near Deerfoot, just before you turn on Deerfoot.
I mean, I think I'm a fan of having a fixed surfaces or fixed structures have, like, anything that's affixed to a structure that's a permanent item, having some kind of regulation called out for it. I mean, like HVAC systems and all that are definitely something that I think are top of mind for me when they're pretty noisy, or a generator or something like that that's kind of affixed to a property. That would fall into a different thing than a storm cleanup, right? So, like, that's not storm cleanup, that's emergency, like backup that maybe fires once a week to make sure it stays in good working condition and things like that. Those sort of things should be, in consideration in a document, or at least give it back to the Board of Health to enact whatever they need to enact in those things.
Mhm.
I don't know. Your writing of this is pretty clean. It's pretty concise. There's a couple pieces here that cover it. Compliance of certain stationary noise sources down in here. I have the disclaimer up top here that you left in with a question mark on it.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, on residential properties. I didn't quite understand what that meant, Tim. That's why
Yeah.
I highlighted it.
So, like, for where I left off from the last meeting on where I had this written as the group, was trying to make sure that we kept the disclaimer to talk about permanently affixed, and devices may not be the right thing, but permanently affixed systems like HVAC or any of that sort of stuff that would be on a residential property as well.
so I thought it was my understanding regarding industrial noise that the CMR, the MGL, and there was another a DAQC policy addressed those already, and that we were merely going to reference those documents to say, regarding industrial noise, these are the laws and the guidelines in the Code of Master Regulations that deal with those. It's already been decided. It's already uniform throughout the whole state. And that's what you do in the Board of Health deals with those. And it was merely going to be an educational section that if somebody wanted to talk about industrial noise, they would say, that's what I do. The bylaw itself was not going to address industrial noise. That was my understanding at the last meeting.
What's the point of clarity on that one, because we've talked about this two different ways, and I guess MGL is sometimes interpreted to mean on a roadway or on a public way, and then
Right.
other things like that.
Well, yeah, Mass General Law, you're right.
Yeah.
Chapter 90 is on public ways. That's motor vehicle stuff. But the main Mass General Laws covers everybody, everywhere.
Okay, so MGL, chapter 111, subsection 142B already applies across the state. And
Right.
there's no need specifically for us to mention this here to have it further enforced or anything like that within the town. Like there's no need from a word standpoint that adds anything besides education.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Now, we could take things a step further, like say, I don't know, if it was say 5 decibels, if we wanted to make it 3 decibels, we could be more restrictive than what the rule of state is. We could do that. However, now we're going to be not consistent throughout the Commonwealth.
So
And we can do that. That's what we can do.
if I have the floor for a second, since I was just talking anyway, don't we have a section in here that says the farming one, exemptions, farming equipment or farming activity as defined by real simple, straightforward. Is
Right.
there a way that we can get the idea of this bigger thing simplified down to this short sentence? Or is that not in our best interest because now we're adding color to a situation that we probably just don't want to add color to, and we really just want to let it stand on its own?
Yeah, but good question. Cindy, you have your hand up.
I also thought that we were doing this just as an educational thing to let people know that, yes, there's already stuff that applies to industrial noise, and here's who owns that, the Board of Health. And I think that saying that somewhere in here it said that the police will involve them and refer the cases to them. I don't at all support going to the 5 dBA above ambient or pure tone. I think that that's putting way more, I mean, from the way Heather talked, they work with businesses to try to address the issues that are out there. And the state's already defined the 10 dBA, and it seems like that's what the Board of Health, it sounded like that's what they work towards with existing cases. I just cannot see being more, setting a whole new standard. I don't see a need to get into the districts and all that. Most people have no clue what they are. I don't think we really have a clue what they are. It's like, let it apply to the town. The industrial stuff is in all of these outlined things. And I'm not sure that we need the second paragraph because I think it's very, very confusing. I think the first paragraph in yellow and the third paragraph in yellow, and let's call it a day. And define the industrial noise.
Okay, Lee. You have your hand up?
Yeah, so I could go with something like that. I don't think we need to have all the verbiage that is in yellow. We could conceivably just reference all of that by, like saying, industrial noise as defined by the state of Massachusetts or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And
I like that even better.
And then the other question would be whether we wanted to put the nighttime limits in. That would be the rationale for among other things for even having the section, is if we wanted to put in a more restrictive limit. 5 decibels, if you're going to pick a number, 5 is kind of an odd number when with respect to sound. I mean, people usually go in increments of 3, 6, or 10 in terms of talking about sound. We got 2 engineers on here. Am I right on that one? Usually we would, yeah. And just because of the psychoacoustic nature of sound, 5 dB is like something that doesn't make as much sense as 6, which represents, I think, a doubling of the apparent sound of things. I could go either way with changing the state's default of 10 above ambient down to 6. I could be convinced either way. at this point.
Go ahead, Lisa, your hand's up.
So as if we reference the Mass Health Board model of noise regulations, their recommendation for nighttime threshold is levels by let's see, it's 5 dBA. So that's where I think that's where Debbie's
where you took
getting
that
it from.
So is what you're saying right there, that's a state MAHB number?
Template. Yep. So it says, in addition, no person shall engage. Schedule generates noise from a building, device, explosive machine, vehicle, or any other man-made source if that noise exceeds or is likely to exceed normal background noise levels by more than 5 dBA. That's nighttime threshold. And then pure tone threshold shall be reduced by 5 dBA. So they're going from that 10 dBA for daytime down to 5 dBA for nighttime.
So Lisa, that's already part of the statute or
That's in the template.
Oh,
That
The MAHB isn't a
Massachusetts Health
statute.
Boards.
okay.
Because we know that this was, we know that that statute was created, I think, in the 1970s. And
Well, I
there's
mean,
more noise.
So let's,
I thought there was some mention of quiet hours in, I'm not opposed to quiet hours but I think if we do deal with some quiet hours, I think it should be throughout the whole town, not just an industrial zone. So I'm not sure how that would work, or how we would come upon that, but I just think that in these things, when you're dealing with industry, they're bigger problems. It's not just somebody, quieting down a party, or, you're going to do your leaves maybe the next day or so with a leaf blower. These are things that, take a lot of discussion. There's engineers, there's architects, there's lawyers, there's a lot of experts in their field. And I just don't feel comfortable even going in that. I mean, I think there was a document, I think with Ken's Foods that was sent around. It was like
Yep.
All kinds of graphs and very professional. And it was impressive reading it, but it wouldn't be fair, me as a layperson to not having any real, education in noise and what that all means. Like, that wouldn't be fair for me to say that that's good or bad. I just don't feel comfortable with it. That's all I see. We got a lot of hands. I'm talking a lot of hands here. Go ahead, Tim.
I think that we're back and forth on this topic. There's two approaches that we should come together on, and it should be either including a section with more in it, or maybe just including a section with a reference to the Mass General Law. And we need to start with kind of where we want to go with this to get to a solution. Because if we can start wordsmithing this all we want, but that's if we want to keep it in. So I think we just generally need to come to a consensus of, do we want to keep in something? And if we keep in something, how much is in it? And then land at that point.
Go ahead, John. You haven't heard from you in a bit.
My only comment is, as an engineer and so forth, statutes get created with very careful analysis and so forth. We're a small little committee. Anything we deviate in terms of adding more restrictions have to be properly analyzed and so forth. So and my inclination is not to have this at all, but I'll defer to the committee. I just wanted to highlight that we shouldn't really add anything really without proper analysis and so forth, because all of a sudden we can create a bylaw that basically impacts Ken Foods. And all of a sudden, what does the town do?
Mhm. Right.
I'm not saying, I'm just, we need to be careful. I mean, we need to help our citizens have more peaceful lives, but it's just, I'm just worried about doing something here without really understanding the consequences.
I mean, these laws go into, they go into committee, and there's all kinds of experts, and there's testimony, and they get to the points where they are through research. And, you know, like I like that, you know, this would almost be circumventing that. But, you know, that's
Research and lobbyists.
yeah. I mean, sometimes I guess it could be dirty politics, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. Lisa, go ahead. Your hand's up.
So I just want to point out that within the information that Heather has given us, she talks about after number 2 produces a pure tone condition. So all of those statutes, her guidance, her regulations that she is working off of are in there. And then she goes ahead and she talks about after receiving a complaint, which would be investigated by an enforcement official. If it's determined that there's an excessive noise being generated, that LBO, the Board of Health can request the commercial source conduct a noise study to obtain the services of an acoustical engineer to determine the compliance with the Southborough noise bylaw. The noise study shall be submitted to the Board of Health for review and shall include a return to compliance plan for any violations noted of the Southborough noise bylaw. So Heather, I mean, we have input into this. She has her guidelines. She knows what she needs to do to evaluate this noise. And we have the ability to include nighttime hours in this for business and industrial zones, and submit 5 dBA above ambient or pure tone, which comes down between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. And this isn't, you know, this is for all areas throughout the town. This is for all of the industrial and business areas that sit so close to our residents. And so for most of them, I mean, there are things that they can do to remedy that noise so that it stays below, so the noises aren't above 5 dBA over ambient. So this is something that we can do. She's still following those regulations. We are not, and she knows how to evaluate it. So she now has nighttime limits. And so our residents know that at nighttime, it shouldn't be as loud. And if it is excessive and it's bothering them, they have the right to pick up the phone and make a phone call and file a complaint if it is excessive and intrusive. We want to make sure our residents are getting a good night's sleep for their overall health and well-being. So I really, I think this is a very simple thing. If you want to take out a lot of the information in there about the general laws and what she's doing for regulations, I mean, just to cut it down, I mean, that might be fine. But I think most of the residents probably won't even think anything about this. That this is what the Board of Health does now to regulate noise in business and industrial areas.
Well, they don't do the 5, they do the 10.
Right, but we have the ability.
Right,
to
I know, but you
drop
said
it
that's
down
not,
to
that
5.
isn't what they do now. It's what.
No, but
Yeah.
it would be very simple for Heather to do this, because it is only when someone files a complaint that she needs to go to the bylaw and say, okay, nighttime noise, we're hearing this at 11 o'clock at night, between 11 and 3, whatever. We need to do a study, and we need to make sure that you get that noise level down so that it's not disturbing our residents.
Okay. Lee, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just looking to see if we had any data over how much the, places are actually raising the decibel level. I'm actually off of our meeting here looking through that analysis from Ken's, looking to see how much they are over that level, to just so I have a reference to it. So
Are you looking at that report that was sent out, Lee?
yes, I am, the one that Debbie sent to us.
So I think Heather was saying that they didn't conduct the noise study correctly. I think it was very close to being 10 decibels above. But, with that, I think they're looking at different ways to remediate the noise.
Yeah, and I mean, my rationale is I'm looking to see what the difference would be if we went from 10 to 5 or from 10 till 6. And it's looking like there were 63 decibel, 63 hertz sound levels that range just from 65 at its low point to 75 at its high point on the day that they were doing it. I have to read this a little more carefully in order to figure out exactly what it's saying in terms of how much the decibel levels are over the ambient.
Well, I think if we look at that template from the board for the Mass Board of Health,
Yeah,
you know that they are the experts in the area and they're providing this information to other towns. I think that is a great guideline for us to go by.
right. So the question is, whether, what the right number is.
If they're asking.
Maybe
if they're-
Ken's maybe Ken's is not over, it's only 5 over, maybe it's 10 over, maybe it's 20 over. I mean, if Ken's is, say, 15 over routinely, then it doesn't matter whether you set it at 5 or 10 because they're over no matter what. But if they were, say, 8 dB over, then it would make a difference.
Lisa, do you know where it is in this MAHB template?
Yeah, it's what's that? No, keep
I'm
you,
I'm at the very
at the
bottom.
bottom. No, that's not. Is that that's not the one, is it? Let's see.
It is the one, but it's
Okay.
I'm
Keep going.
It was up, I think it's up a little
Yeah.
bit.
so
Actually, it's after that. Go slowly, bring it down.
it's
Keep
after
going.
definitions, all right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
after definitions.
Industrial noise.
And yeah, industrial noise. Go go down to the bottom there.
Let me do something real quick because sorry, everything's crossed out. Let me uncross things out so we can read it. And we were just in this section here.
Thresholds. Right there. Stop. No, go down. Noise thresholds.
In thresholds.
Keep going. Keep going. Nighttime thresholds. Right there.
This is something that the Board of Health says, yes, you can use as a template. It's not the state law. And I am worried about, as someone mentioned, we're not experts. Whoever put the state law together, lots went into that. It's like, what can of worms are we gonna open up? Yes, it would be better in the sense of it will be quieter. But the last thing, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I just paid a huge tax increase, and far too much money in this town goes to lawsuits and fighting all this stuff. And we have no idea what we would be opening up by changing what the state requires. I don't think it's a good idea at this point, the first time through. I just don't think it is.
So I'm looking at this study, and I understand what you said, that there may be questions about the methodology. But looking at the graphs at the end of it, where they measured decibel levels in the parking lot and at 58 Flag, which I'm guessing is possibly where
Half of it.
Debbie lives, that the ambient levels there at 58 Flag were around in the middle of the night. They were, over 70 decibels. I'll tell you, that's pretty loud.
That's high.
That is
Yeah.
really, so I can understand why somebody would say that, question whether or not that is really what it was. In the parking lot, it was about 10 decibels higher than it is at the homeowner's home. But, when you're talking about, things over 70 decibels, I mean, that's louder than my snoring.
So we've been back and forth on this, and we haven't specifically answered it one way or the other.
No.
Should we keep this section, number one? If we keep this section, should it be short or longer? So I feel like in order for us to make any progress, we need to answer those questions. And then if we keep it, I copy paste, and then we start going through line by line to see what we want to keep. So I propose we make a decision here as a group of what direction we want to take this.
So I move that we keep it and have a short section.
Do you want it with the added decibel change from?
I think we need to
I think we
decide
still have
that
to decide
first.
what that's going to be. But
Why don't we do that out of the gate? Because obviously if we're going to change the decibel level, then we're going to have to adopt
So
that language.
Lee, when you say short section, I would define what Lisa has here as short. Is this the level of short you're talking about, or are you talking about more brevity than this?
I was talking about the brevity of the farming activity.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just punt the whole definitions of things back to the state, and then and then we would have, if we wanted a restriction that was greater than that of the state, that we would put that as the next part of our bylaw.
I'll
Is the
second
farming
that.
equipment in this section? No, that's under prohibited, right?
That's under exemptions.
That's
He was
an
just using that as a definition example.
Okay.
Just as defined by like what we did before.
Oh,
So
okay. I gotcha.
one of the ways, like, so everybody's on the same page as we talk about this, is simplistic approaches simply saying industrial noise as is regulated by Mass General Law, and then like it would just simply say something pretty brief. If anybody has a question, and they would look up the Mass General Law and like go down the rabbit hole of answering what exactly it covers. Now,
Okay.
that's
And maybe we could put in there, we could maybe define daytime hours for business, industrial, as well as nighttime hours to kind of give a full picture, but reduce those regulations that we've kind of written out here.
So I'm on board with Lee's position. I think we can start moving in the right direction with that approach. So there's two for that. Lisa, you're shaking. Are you in agreement? Okay.
Let's go over what you talk. What do you mean, Lee's approach? Summarize that for me.
So I'll summarize it pretty quick. Simply take the idea of the farming, and we would say industrial noise as regulated by Mass General Law, Chapter 111, 142B. And we would say whatever other words we need to add into this, and
The
to be
CMR
regulated by CMR 710.
and
Like,
the DAQC policy.
yeah, so we would just kind of write it into like call it a sentence, and just it says industrial noise is to be regulated by the Board of Health using these laws and criteria.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
short.
Peter, would you be open to letting Debbie Demuria, whose hand is up, address us?
Sure, I don't see that. How do you see that?
Under
Yeah, I don't either.
participants?
Oh,
How do you see it?
Participants and attendees.
oh,
I don't know where that is. Oh,
attend, you already gotta go to attendees?
Yeah, there are
Okay.
two.
Yeah.
They're panelists and then there are attendees under participants.
Yeah, sure, we can, Deb, if you can give us a, you know, a 1-minute synopsis of what you're looking for. Can we turn her on?
So Deb's in the audience here. So so for the record, we're still going to have public comment later. This is more in reference to the specific section we're talking about.
Hi, everybody. It's Debbie Demuria. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I just want to commend you because I think you've come up with something that's short and sweet, and that's really digestible. So I think that's really great. I think it's already been said, but this section of Mass General Law and CMR actually applies to everything. I think, Peter, you might have said that. It doesn't just apply to industrial. So for an example would be if a school, for example, which might be, I guess, maybe in an industrial area, had some sort of a noise, this law would apply. So I understand for this purposes of this bylaw, we're focusing on industrial or business district or highway or something like that. But this Mass General Law does apply kind of universally in terms of, noise. But what I wanted to say was, I like the idea of making it really simple. First of all, thank you for including the industrial section in here. And I don't mind it being very narrow in, brief anyway. But I wanted to let you know that I have a letter from the police chief so we all agree that Mass General Law is already in place and CMR is already in place. But I have a letter from the police chief saying, because we don't have a noise bylaw, he can't do anything. He can't implement anything having to do with Mass General Law or CMR. And so that worries me a little bit because I don't know if he needs more detail or if Heather needs more detail in this section. Fundamentally, I agree with you. We really don't need a lot of words. We should just say that, the sentence that you have there is fine. Industrial noise is regulated under CMR and Mass General Law. However, it is anyway right now. And I have a letter from the police chief saying, sorry, unfortunately, I'm not able to help you. I guess, we don't really need to put that in our bylaw because it's Mass General Law, it applies. So I'm wondering what else do they need? What kind of detail is needed in this section in order for either the police or Board of Health to act, act on it.
I understand that, and I think the reason why it's set up the way it is it in an industrial problem like this, it's a long-standing problem, and it's not something that the police that have a large amount of authority, they have the authority to actually take somebody's liberty. That's not something that's going to be handled by the police. That's something that's going to be handled by a Board of Health that can do civil action. They can write citations, they can take you to court, so on and so forth, and it has to be looked at and scrutinized by lawyers and experts in the field. The police aren't supposed to be that way. That's why they're not listed. And that's why the chief says he doesn't have that authority, because he doesn't have the expertise to fairly address something like Ken's Foods that's, I don't know, millions and millions of dollars. It wouldn't be fair to have a guy on the midnight shift to come down and handle that.
Right.
You know, so they have experts with the Board of Health people are experts in their field. They know what they're doing. They know they can tell people, all right, shut this fan off, shut this truck off. We're going to take a measurement. The police can't go down and tell people to do that. They have to have lots of authority to do that. So I think that's why there's a kind of a separation there. And I don't think the state wants the police doing that kind of thing. They want the police to be handled the things that can't be handled by anybody else. The party in the middle of the night, the other things that we've outlined that it seems to be what people want in the town. We're just kind of not identifying and determining what those times and activities are. Where this is a big one, and that's where I'm coming, and having a police background. I mean, I don't know what I would do if somebody called. Like, I don't know where you go with that. I've looked at the chart. I did find that the latest thing. It looks like, as a layperson, like 66 to probably 78 different of the decibel levels between Ken's and and I don't even know what the other scale is. So, I feel for you. I wish there was something we could do. I don't feel confident enough in my background and abilities to be able to address it properly.
But Pete, if we put the short version saying that it's going to
Right.
be regulated by the Southborough Board of Health, at least the bylaw is acknowledging
Correct.
that yes,
It's an
there is
educational thing,
something
right?
and who's in charge of it.
Right.
I
Lisa,
think that
Yep,
the
go ahead.
chief's point before might be that there was no bylaw.
Right.
So I think it's important that we keep this section in it and just refer to the state thing.
Yeah, I kind of like where Tim is going with this right now. Debbie, did you have any comment about 5 versus 10 decibels above ambient?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's 5 and not 6. I mean, I understand what you're saying because it's logarithmic, right? But
Yes.
I would say you see my sound report, and that was a report that was conducted by Ken's, and not to focus on Ken's or any particular business, but I might be 1 decibel short of 10 decibel there. I'm not really sure because there are issues with the way that that was set up. But whatever it is, when it's 85 decibels down at Ken's, it's 75 at my house, and that's
really
way too
loud.
loud. Yeah, it's very loud. So, I mean, I think the important point is, I would support 5 decibels or 6, whatever you want it to be, some lower number in the evening, and that's consistent not just with mass bylaw, model bylaw, which is of course not regulation, but it really is a bunch of healthcare professionals that have been doing studies over the last couple of decades that are looking at the suburbs are getting noisier, right? They used to be 35, 37. Now they're probably more like 45, 47. So it's really having to do with what's a comfortable sleep and that sort of thing. And that's kind of I guess commonly accepted. How common, I don't know. It's hard, that kind of information is hard to find, but I would really support, something under 10. I would very much like to see 5 or 6. So I would appreciate that if you would.
Okay, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. I think, sorry. Looking at what Heather gave us, I think the Board of Health and our police department will be working together so that we know that if something happens in the middle of the night, and I think Debbie is very aware of this, that some of these noises are, it doesn't start until after 10 and it goes until 3 in the morning. I think that's what that report's saying. I know that there's people over on Route 30 that talk about stuff happening, during sleeping hours from our public forum. I think they realize that, we have to call the police to at least have it acknowledged, and that the chief will go back and send a note off to Heather and say, there's an issue here, and you're going to need to go in and evaluate it. So I think,
The chief's already
We-
said he would do that.
yes, exactly.
Right.
And that's what's listed in there. And I think that's important. And so going forward, because we will now have a noise bylaw, and this section is part of this noise bylaw, they have something to follow through on and know exactly what they need to do.
Tim, can you move the document over? So, because I don't know about everybody else, but I can't see all the words. Our pictures are over the words. There we go. Hey, that's not enforce.
So Lisa, when you're proposing nighttime limits are 5 decibels over the ambient level, measured where? At the homeowner's property line, at the edge of the business, measured where?
Let's take,
Because I think we'll have to specify that if we were to include it.
sure. Let me just see I'm looking to see what they offer here.
50 feet from its source, it said, that one said.
Wow. Based on those other things, it's going to be like 85 decibels, still
Yeah,
50 feet from its source.
Recorded a distance of 50 feet from its source. Would it make sense for it to be measured 50 feet from its source? Would it make sense to measure it at property line? I'm wondering where Debbie's been, where the study
So
was conducted.
The study showed that they measured it in the parking lot and they measured it at some place on her property. That's what the study showed.
Yeah.
And there was approximately an 8 to 10 decibel difference between those two measurements.
Yeah. So,
we were talking, like in the mid 80s in the parking lot, and in the mid 70s in the at her property line, or well, depending on the time. And some were like 65 versus 75. I'd have to go back and look again. I could be off by 10 decibels, but still, when you're talking 75 decibels, that is really loud for trying to sleep through.
yep. So, Lee, what do you think? I mean, do you think
I think that it is,
from the source?
I think that it is reasonable for us to put something in here that the state law says 10. If we wanted to go with 6, I would not oppose that. And then how the Board of Health deals with that is going to be trying to work with the business, presumably, in terms of trying to deal with it. But I think those are really loud levels for people to be living with.
So the document is,
I'm a much quieter neighborhood than that. I just have the Pike nearby.
yeah, me too.
Me too.
The document I'm looking at with the graph, and maybe I misunderstood, but the last page, it says, "Thank you, sincerely yours, Debbie Demiria." That's the lady we just talked to, right? So,
Correct.
So this is a thing that she had done?
Yes, that's what she said.
Okay.
So this is on her property level.
Yeah, but just to clarify, she had done or Ken's had done, and they took a measurement from her property.
Right.
It sounds
I
like,
thought Heather said it was that she had Ken's do it. No?
Yeah. it's to me, my my understanding of this was that Ken's had the study done
I think you're right.
and that she had a measurement taken from her property line
Mm.
or someplace on her property.
Because the orange, the highest the orange goes is about 70 on 58 Flag Road. Oh, no, wait a minute. Down at the end, it does go to about 75.
What time of day is that?
In the middle of the night.
9:30 p.m. is like right around 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. It's right on the 75 dB line.
And then how about later into the evening and early morning?
It goes down, and then at midnight, and then right around 1 o'clock, it goes from like 65 back up to 75 between 1 o'clock and like maybe 1:30.
Mm.
And then it goes kind of down for that to a low of 5:30 in
65.
the morning. It's pretty low.
I know she has vibration issues too. It just,
Yeah,
it rattles windows.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think this is definitely something we should look at, not just, for industry across the town, because there are so many residential areas so close to these industrial business areas in town. There's just, they're within feet, probably 100 feet for some.
But I mean, would it really be fair to, architects and everything and mediation is taken into account whatever level is the state standard, the 10 dB. And now we're gonna change it in the 9th hour and say, oh, no, we're gonna change it now to a different standard. Like legally, I don't know, are they grandfathered or like, is this for future stuff? Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. It's something, I'm just uneasy about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to protect our residents, and this is something that I think needs to be addressed, because we don't want to, I think there's other businesses that could be coming in, and right now they're using the 10 dB, and for the most part, they're probably being run during the day, and they probably close up and nothing's happening at night. So I think, let's set this level so that we are protecting the sleep of our residents.
Mm.
And I think it's probably a very easy fix if they're already, I think they're looking at things that need to be done, because the residents have been talking about this for a very long time.
All right, Tim, you have
Tim's
your
had
hand
his
up?
hand up for a really long
Sorry.
time.
I've been reading on the other screen, the document.
I'm sitting here wordsmithing all this, trying to do it. I'm having a hard mental time going back and forth on what these CMRs, MGLs, all this stuff is. Like, I'd have to pull it up on screen, look at it in front of me. Normally Lee keeps us straight when we're going down this path to make sure we're not saying something incorrectly. I am not in favor of including the nighttime limit. I'd rather let the CMR and the MGL speak for those kind of things. I feel like this should be as clean and straightforward as we can, because otherwise this is going to turn into, it has the potential to turn into a roadblock for 50% of the town. So anything we can say that's like on paper already a mass law, bring it forward, have it supported so the chief can look to it and clearly define it, I think is in our best interest, because it's already there. We're just simply pointing it out. So I would be a fan of keeping this section as written on paper as we can to already established laws and statutes that we can easily point to. So adding anything to it, I'm not a huge proponent of.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Might as well just.
What about if in this paragraph that Tim just put up, if we said industrial noises to be regulated by the Southborough Board of Health, according to or whatever 310 CMR 710 da 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 da, and then we said nighttime, something like nighttime concerns of industrial noise issues should be reported to the or can be reported to the police, who will follow up with the Board of Health. And that way you're, because it's like, it says enforced by the Southborough Board of Health and Police Department, but it still doesn't say, well, who do you call?
Is the chief in the audience?
He
Yeah.
was.
I don't see.
He's left now. He was though. He
No,
must
he's
have known
not.
we were going to call on him.
He's a
Yeah.
panelist now.
He what?
Oh, here he is.
Good
Yep.
evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi, Chief.
What can I answer for you?
So
What role, chief, do you want the police to play? What role are you comfortable with in regarding like industrial noise, like basically after hours and on weekends, you know, when the Board of Health maybe is not around?
I think you guys hit it right on the head. We'll go, we'll document it, and then we'll follow up and, you know, and see what the best resource is for everybody.
Okay.
We do that with the building inspector. You know, people call us for different building code items, then I would follow up with the building inspector. Same thing here. We just went through this with the masking mandates. We're not going around, you know, doing heavy-handed enforcement. We'll do a report. We'll huddle up with the Board of Health. We'll see what's appropriate, you know, unless it's an emergency situation, you know, and you're talking about a noise ordinance, you know, a loud party out of control. For the most part, we're going to document and we're going to follow up and we're going to see if we can solve the problem that way. But every call that comes into the police department is documented in some fashion, whether it's through the dispatch log or through a formal OF report.
Okay.
okay, and Chief, can I ask, Debbie said that she had a letter from you that there was nothing you could do about the noise at Ken's because there wasn't a bylaw or something. If we call out something like this little paragraph that's in gray, and say that, you know, nighttime concerns can be reported to the police to be forwarded to, I mean, I'm assuming that, you know, the kind of sound level she's talking about in the middle of the night, I think that a police officer could certainly recognize as wow, and be able to make some sort of recommendation to the Board of Health. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do now. If somebody
Okay.
called us, whatever it was, we'd take a report and we'd follow up to the best of our ability. I do recall, I mean, this is getting to be a while ago, that we looked up, there was some jurisdiction or some coding through, I forget if it was Mass DEP or DPH that covered industrial noise as a public health issue. And it did describe, I don't have the document with me. I'd have to go back and look in my office. It did describe noise levels and that agency did have noise meters to come down and take a look at it. But like I said, it was a public health issue. It wasn't, I think like Pete described earlier, it wasn't a law issue or something like that. They were addressing it through the public health.
So guys, can we like rewrite this paragraph to point out that it's the 310 CMR and yada, da, 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 and that nighttime concerns should be reported to the police?
I would say all
All
industrial,
concerns.
Right, I wouldn't say nighttime, I would
Yeah,
say
I wouldn't
all,
either.
all
Okay.
concerns should be reported.
I wonder if we couldn't, put that police role in the scope. Because like the chief said, he's gonna deal with building and planning, whatever other town, basically say the police can also serve as a documenting agency regarding noise and refer that to the appropriate entity, kind of thing.
Well, I
Like
think
you
it
kind
is
of feel like the
common
scope, you want to fill in the blanks that aren't addressed in the rest of the document. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just talking out loud, just kind of brainstorming a little.
sense. It
Well, that can go in the enforcement section at the end of the whole thing.
is pretty much common sense. If the enforcement agents are the police and the Board of Health, the Board of Health certainly isn't open at 11 o'clock at night or
Right.
Saturdays or Sundays. So, the next enforcement agent, who's obviously working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is the
True.
police. So that's who you call.
Now, we actually already have that in this draft under enforcement, section A.
Cindy, I don't think we specifically need it in this section. I
Yeah,
think we
it'll be
already,
redundant.
yeah. Are we okay not to bring this in here?
Yeah.
Or maybe since it
Okay,
comes first,
yeah.
it'd be redundant.
I also think you're talking about this, and I'm not sure what businesses are open or who operates, 3 shifts or through the night. And I know looking at the section on idling trucks, you talk about refrigerated trucks or if they're idling for over 5 minutes. I don't know that there's businesses that are already in place that operate at different hours at different times. Like Pete said, are they grandfathered in? I don't know who we'd have to check with, but there's different businesses that are operating or might come in to Southborough to operate, and they'd have to know about all this stuff ahead of time. So you're talking basically about noise that emanates outside the buildings across the property lines.
Right. So we're setting a standard.
Correct. And even the refrigerated trucks at Ken's, which I believe were found to be emanating some of the noise. And I think we had some line in there that exempted the refrigerated trucks. Well, I'm not sure if we want those trucks idling for, 5 hours at a time. So there's always loopholes for everything.
So that's interesting that you say that, Chief. It's like, well, what do you do about that? I mean, that's probably creating a lot of the noise for the neighbors.
So that section specifically is in reference to idling vehicles. And we have an industrial noise section that would then cover the issues of a business operator operating. So like the two can be at odds, but one of the sections has to kind of supersede the other section, right? So industrial noise on that property would have to supersede the exemption of a truck idling, because it's not one, it's many. So it's not just like a delivery, it's
Is the noise the tractor trailer with that little engine on the front of it that keeps it cold, the refrigerator? Is that the noise, or is it the actual tractor moving the trailer around?
no, it's the refrigeration unit on the front of it. It's called a reefer unit, and that reefer unit's generally like a large generator with a compressor on it that powers the entire trailer's unit.
So that wouldn't be considered an idling truck.
I don't think you would define it as an idling truck. I mean, like that's a business operation at that point. An idling truck is like a delivery.
Right.
And that's I would think you would classify them as two different things.
Right, I would, yeah. All right, well, I think we're pretty much in agreement that the gray paragraph is good.
Yeah.
Where we seem to be, maybe we can take another poll on whether we want to go to from 10 to 6 to 5, whatever that number is. That seems to be what we have to kind of talk about. And now, am I missing John? I don't see.
John's here.
Oh,
I'm
he
here.
is? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Just
Sorry, I didn't see
scroll
your
up.
face.
Chief, do you want to remain a panelist or do you want to go back in the audience where you can watch your TV in the background?
Oh, no, I've got no background here. I mean, I can remain as a panelist if I have a comment.
Okay.
Don't hear any noise out of me.
Okay.
Lee, we've had a fair amount of discussion on this. How can we put this to what's the proper procedure to put this to some sort of a vote?
Well, we could do it as two phases. We could ask the question, do we want to decrease the decibel levels that are allowed at night compared to the state's default of 10? And if you get at least 4 out of 6 people who say yes, then we can decide what number we want to put that to. And I've only heard really the suggestion for 2 numbers, 5 and 6, and we might just end up agreeing on that.
Okay, so I would
the-
like to second that almost motion that you made.
Yeah, so
Um,
for the purpose of John, who's taken the notes, the motion is to decrease the maximum decibel levels above ambient noise that's allowed at night.
And I'll second that.
That.
John, you
Compared
have
to the
that?
10.
To what level?
We
We're
don't-
not going to specify a level yet. We're just going to decide whether we want to decrease it or whether
Okay.
we want to keep it at 10. Maybe the cleaner way to ask the question is, who is in favor of keeping the state's default level of 10? That's probably the cleanest way to state it.
Okay, I'll second that. So we're gonna, Tim,
How do I vote?
are you in favor of keeping the 10 decibel state level?
Yes, I'm in favor of keeping it at the state's requirement.
Lee,
I'm going to agree with Tim. I'm going to keep it at the state's level for now.
Pete, I'm
So
gonna
wait
do
a
yes.
Quick question, for
Yeah.
now, or is this just gonna take it off the table altogether?
Well, if we keep it, if it gets one more yes vote, it's off the table. So,
Okay,
2 more.
so it's not for now. It's, you're saying you're staying with the 10 decibel level.
I'm going to
right?
stay with the 10 decibels. That's correct.
I mean, for your point, Lisa, I think we're just agreeing about what we're trying to write in the document to keep moving forward. It's not like it's off the table for good. If there's a good enough case to come back to it later, we can always come back to it.
Right. Remember, we're going to have public comment on this.
Yeah.
And we would, and this is a section that we would want to highlight for the public to give their comment, because depending what they say, we may go back and say, okay, we heard you loud and clear.
Then I would suggest we don't do a vote on this, that we move forward and we leave it here so that it's
No,
available
come on.
it's available for people to look at the draft before our next public meeting, and they can weigh in on it because it will be in the draft.
So what you're suggesting is to produce the document, but have, this and perhaps some other things highlighted as major discussion points.
Yes.
I would be fine with that concept.
I
So
mean,
we-
that is
we
part
need
of the
to-
meeting minutes. It's part of the recording. It's part of the meeting minutes.
There's Lee would have to change, you'd have to change your motion.
We have to finish the vote.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah,
had a
we're doing
motion.
a
We've
vote.
already seconded it. We have to continue to march and we can, Lisa, what's your vote on it?
No, I don't think we should stay with the 10 decibel level.
Cindy,
We should keep it.
There you go.
John,
For the same reasons, keep it, because I don't understand the impacts of lowering it.
Okay,
and neither does any citizen in town.
That's probably true.
okay.
And Pete, what's your vote?
I said yes as well. I'm trying to
Yes,
mix, I don't want to
keep
be voting last all the time. I want to try and mix it up, the order of everybody, so there's no impropriety.
Okay, but I guess I missed it. So you're a keep?
Yeah,
or-
yeah, there was, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and a no,
Okay,
to keep it at 10.
I propose
Yeah.
that we keep the language around nighttime hours, lowering it to 5, and the 5 decibel limit with the nighttime hours on our draft so people can review it prior to the public forum.
Does anybody want to second that?
I mean, she just proposed it. It's not a motion. It's just kind of like.
Then I make a motion.
Yeah.
Then I make a motion that we keep the language around nighttime limits with the 5 or 6 dBA, that it's, and that there are nighttime hours for industrial business noise. And we keep it in the minutes so the public can read this information in the draft prior to the next open forum.
Well, I
Is there a
mean,
second?
we're talking about it. The minutes should reflect that we're talking about, we're having an extensive discussion on that. We're not going to leave that out of the minutes. That did happen. It is happening. So
But
kind of a
I'm,
mute point.
okay.
She
So-
wants it to
So
be.
my proposal is,
wants it to be in the time.
so my proposal is that when we promote the next forum, that we send out a draft of the bylaw, a working draft of the bylaw, so people can look at it prior to the meeting and have their questions ready for us. So that's why I'm asking you to keep these suggestions in the minutes so we can get feedback from our residents.
Yeah, but that's not going to be in the draft of the bylaw. It's going to be in the minutes.
But if we
Molly?
have a draft, if we, the document that Tim's working
you
on
wanna
right
keep it in the
now
draft.
is a draft. And it is something that we usually, and they should be out there. I don't know if they're out there. Those are the attachments that go with the minutes. But what I'm saying is, when we promote this upcoming public forum, when we send out information, when we do stuff in the blog, when we send out information to the 125 people that ask for updates on this, that we send out the draft bylaw so they can view it in advance. And all options are available for them to contemplate.
so we just took a vote that was 5-1, that the changing the noise level is not gonna roll. Are you making a motion?
She is.
Yes, I'm making a motion to keep the language in there for
Okay,
reflections for our residents to review prior to our next open forum, because a draft should be sent out for them to view. Should be I think it should be in the draft, is something for them to consider.
But we just voted to not have it. I mean, we
I
just.
know, but
Oh.
but
We
that's,
can't have it and then not have it. So it's either in or it's out, and it's out. We voted to take it out.
but we're asking for our residents' feedback, and
But we
you're
can do that.
taking that
No.
option away from them.
So I have a suggestion.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Lee.
All right, so everybody's correct, all right? And I am in strong sympathy with Lisa's suggestion, because I really would like to hear, although as John mentioned, none of us are experts, but I really would like that the town to have it called to their attention if they're going to review this, that this was an issue that we had concern about. So the way to do it may be to take, to put it in green without the number 3, to put it in the document and have it say, but before the word nighttime says, not part of this document, but for public forum discussion is this concept or something similar to that.
I mean, you can just simply bring it up at the forum. Say, look, what do you
Right.
guys think about?
So the difference, I suppose it depends on how we advertise the form. If there are areas in this document that we want to highlight because we want feedback on them in particular, then we need to do something to highlight that. The other way to highlight it would be to have a document that goes with it, and that would be essentially sort of like a preamble for the document. And we could do it that way. We could put at the top of the document saying, the following are areas that, the bylaws committee would be particularly interested in getting public feedback for, and then list them 1, 2, 3, and this would be one of those points.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And maybe
think
that's the
that's a
cleanest
super
way we
idea.
could take any of the things which we think, even if we agree to it, but we think that it may be controversial for the town, to just highlight them so it comes out at the public forum instead of at town meeting.
We could,
Yeah.
I mean, we could start that list right now, right?
Yep, you
In
could
a
just
separate
you
document.
could just copy and paste those 3 lines, the not to be included, and put them at the beginning or the end of the document. Lisa, would that cover what you're trying to accomplish?
But would it make sense to have it within the section that we're trying to have that discussion around?
Lisa, it doesn't make sense. We're trying to come up with a proposed bylaw that people and we've taken a vote that what should be in and what shouldn't be. I think Lee's got a great idea because the same thing's going to happen with the leaf blower business.
So I
Um,
have a suggestion.
You go ahead, Tim.
We've done strike throughs on other things, so it's in the proper place where it would be. Lee, your idea is good, but it's going to lose context of where it would belong in the document.
That's Lisa's point.
There's a lot of A plus B equals F if we start doing that.
Yeah.
If we kept this in here, I'm of the opinion if we did a strike through and we did maybe a different color once this is all formatted. This area looks like it's been hit by highlighters.
Mhm.
If we did something like that, it might be a way to kind of exclude it, but still keep it in context for that public forum. And then after the public forum, if we don't have enough case to keep it, we voted, it goes away. And that's the solution. I don't know, but my biggest concern about even including it in this section is what John said. I don't know the ramifications of if we would bring it back at the end of the day. And I hate the idea of saying we need to study because I don't know. I hate those terms, but it's kind of one of those. It's one of the most appropriate moments where we just need like a real somebody else to weigh in that knows exactly what this could mean from a higher level standard. Because I don't know HVAC systems. I don't know how many decibels they add at nighttime ambient level when they kick on or kick off. I don't know enough about that specific side.
I wonder if there's somebody at the state that has the answer to the question.
Guy, let me add one comment. The way it's written, it's also misleading. The template talks about a pure tone noise. So this 5 decibels or 6 decibels, however we want to qualify it. In the template, it refers to only a pure tone, which is completely different than the noise coming from the HV systems and other. The way we've written or pure tones, we're misleading ourselves if we think that's the same as what's in the template.
Do you think Heather would be able to answer that question because she's the one that's evaluating these situations?
You would convince me to support this if we ask the town to provide context and comment on this note and then see what happens. Otherwise, I can't vote for something I don't really understand.
Mm.
Well, I think that's why we're pulling it from a document that has been created by experts. And it's addressing the issue, the noise issue that our residents are experiencing.
But specifically the way the template is, I'm willing to bet the noise around Ken's food is absolutely not pure tones. It's equipment, and this line item would not support and help those citizens. A pure tone is completely different than a motor running or a pump or anything else.
So maybe we should have a separate line for, as it's listed here, pure tone threshold for any source of noise that emits a pure tone. The dBA intensity set forth shall be by a table shall be reduced by 5 dBs. I mean, I think we need to have Heather take a look at this and work with us on, how to create this, because I think there's a need here, and I would like to hear about this at the next open forum.
We also do like to remind everybody, we do have a pretty strict and short timetable where we have to do quite a few things. I mean, if we had a year to really look at this, and I'm sure in a year we would all become experts on what these terms mean and what the ramifications might be for enacting such a thing. But whether the message was intentional or not, they gave us a short window of time to work in, and we've been working a lot, once a week, sometimes twice a week. So maybe this is just a topic that's just too big for us to address, and maybe they planned it that way. I don't know, but it could be.
I volunteer to reach out to Heather on this.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
I keep saying it's a free country. Now, some of the crossouts, do we want to take those out completely, Tim? Like the one above where it says industrial, like there's some crossouts that we're leaving in on purpose, and then there's some crossouts that we just want to take out completely to not be contradictory to what we agreed to.
Yeah, I mean, some of this is just building off of what we had been given and all that.
Right.
So at this point, it's just.
I like to kind of clean it up so we can come to more of a concise.
All this is an email somewhere in previous versions, so I'm just going to eliminate it for now to try to.
I mean, if I'm fine with that Lisa's line there, the green, you have a green, if you want to, leave that red one, yeah.
I'm going to move this definition because I realize we need definition to keep this section shorter. I took a stab at defining industrial noise and put sound within the following zones. I think, Lisa, do you have that written that way? Oh, you have it includes it. So I took what you wrote and I just put sound within the following zones. And then we specify the zones as identified on the zoning map of the town of Southborough, as defined in the zoning bylaws of the town of Southborough. So we just define industrial noise.
You don't want to say within, you want to say emanating from, because the violation would be outside the zone.
Would it still be building the building within those zones? Nobody probably would complain, but technically that's what it would be doing, right?
Right. But
So
the violation would be outside of that zone. So, I mean, you could say both, within or emanating is fine.
But we're just defining industrial or business and industrial noise. Do you think we should do you think we should call it business and industrial noise because of the zones and how that's defined? Like we have a business district, we have, which would be, a highway business district. So that's my thoughts, but.
Yeah, that business industrial noise, sure. Well, how about non-residential? Is that pretty much everything that's non-residential, Lisa?
No, they've got like conservation and
Okay.
I'm not sure about the critical resource district, if that's appropriate for there. We think that's the reservoirs and I don't know if that should be in this. I don't know if that's really not considered a business or industrial
Okay,
noise area. That might need to be taken out. I think maybe I couldn't find it on the website. I tried, but
that's what I was hoping the, maybe the building inspector could, give us a little bit of guidance on what the different zones were, but I guess the planning board is, who handles the zone?
actually,
Zoning board?
I think Debbie's on zoning. I don't know if she's still in the audience. Is she
Yeah,
still
she's
out
in-
there?
She's in the audience still.
Maybe she could give us a quick rundown on zones.
Can we acknowledge her, Tim?
She didn't put her hand up, so.
Oh.
Oh, we have a hand.
Oh, great.
He's listening. Somebody's actually listening.
Wow.
Yay.
That's
We have a
super.
fan.
We do have a fan.
Okay, Debbie, you should be free to speak.
Hi, yeah. I am a fan, actually. What was the question about how many zones in town or what are the zones?
No, what
Yeah.
is critical
That
resource?
is the question. We'd like some input on what zones are and how we could delineate them, or give us a scoop on zones.
What's the scoop? Okay, so the town is divided into zones. There's a couple on here, actually critical resource district I did not know about. There is a nice map that's in the last master plan, and I'm a member of the master plan committee as an ad hoc member. And I do know that they're in the process of creating a new map, the latest being to accommodate for the downtown district. It is a little confusing to me, to be honest, as to say which is the industrial zone, because I believe it includes industrial, park, a highway business district. It's unclear to me if scientific and professional falls into industrial, but that is one of our zones. Village business district and downtown district. Downtown district is the new zone. And as you guys were speaking, the wireless accommodates the tower, I guess. So those are all the zones in town. So if you go on the, on the GIS map online, you'll see all of these zones and where they are in town.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like everything we have here is appropriate for what we're talking about. And critical resource district, Debbie, did you say that you do know what that is?
No, I really don't know what that is. Yeah, and in fact, when I was looking for master plan committee and I was looking at the map, I didn't happen to see that. So I'm either I missed it or I just don't really know what that one is.
So it sounds like this is okay for where we are, guys, that we could just move this into the definition space for now and come back to it
Yep.
later.
Does that Board of Health, it doesn't define business noise? The Board of Health template?
No, I don't think it was in there.
I'm surprised. Are we ready for a break?
That would be good.
Or break or to be done for the night.
Well, yeah, at the rate we're going, we're never gonna get through this tonight.
But we have.
I wanted to use all our horsepower on the hard stuff, so the easy stuff, when we're a little tired, we can just coast through.
I thought we did the easy stuff last week.
Okay, so can we take like a 3-minute break then? I mean, I would like to try to end at a slightly reasonable hour tonight if we can.
Yeah, let's do a 5-minute, and it's 9:22, 5 minutes from now.
Okay.
Sounds good.
See you in a bit.
Thank you.
Did you read that already?
We're losing our attendees. We need to move public comment up to the beginning of the next meeting.
Who else was Debbie, was someone else? Other
Yeah,
than
there was Patrick Stanton and Diana Bell in the audience earlier.
Yeah, I think when we take the break, that's when we lose them.
Not just that, I mean,
Well, it's a long night.
It is.
It is, yeah.
and I mean, we start at 7:30, which I'm a fan of, but it also makes it a later night because
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to like include Debbie earlier in case she had to leave. Or in case the noise at Ken started to pick up and she couldn't hear. Yeah.
I can't find the zoning map.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. I couldn't pull it up.
Yeah. Interesting. It's not on the town, the town website at all.
I know it's out there because I looked at it one day, but I just couldn't go back in and find it again. I think it's hard to.
I
navigate.
found the zoning thing from the light bylaw, but I don't know where else to look. The light bylaw has everything laid out inside of it.
All right, we have everybody back. Let's start back to business, 9:29. You want to bring up the document again?
Yep.
Can we just finish cleaning up that one section? There was still stuff in yellow, I think.
So it just
So
had
can we take out, all
Yeah.
that yellow in that line, the next lined out line?
So do we want this still in here since we want Heather to go back and look at this? I mean, the goal was, I felt like a good marching direction to make sure we were gonna hit what we were hoping to hit. Do we want to eliminate that at this point today, or I would suggest wait till next week and strike it next week.
That's fine. I can certainly share this information with Heather and
Right.
talk to her this week.
Okay.
Okay, in definition down below needs to come out.
Yep, I moved the definition down right before we
Yep.
took a
Okay.
break. And I put this in red for now because I have so many colors going on. I don't know what better color.
Can you do a lighter color? That's really tough on my eyes.
I tried. My
Like a
lighter
peach?
color, my lighter colors are magenta.
Yeah, these are really bad highlighters.
We already have a teal being used for something else.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Tough.
I mean, I didn't want to
That's
get
fine.
green. didn't wanna
I
get
can see,
green.
I mean, that contrast with the letters is much better. I mean,
Yeah,
you can always do
How
white
about that?
letters with
How
a
about
pink
that one?
background or,
Is that one okay?
no, I can't really read it. I think the one prior was better.
The green one was better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I was trying to avoid green though, because like right now this is like on the docket of coming out. So I was trying to not make it green from a green means go standpoint. So I'm trying to give it some level of like orange, but I don't have an orange here. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what about, let me try your idea of just making the text a different color.
Try white.
So if you just go into Google, by the way, and type Town of Southborough zoning map, the top thing has a couple of stuff. One says zoning map, Town of Southborough, and the other is the GIS online property map for Southborough. And those links from Google will then take you to the place on the town's website where you can click on either of those. The GIS map is interactive. The other map is static.
So what if we just did it this way, just kept it yellow as a wordsmithing section?
I was gonna say, if you did it with a blue background, that might pop with white. Yeah.
One more last color
Ooh.
try here.
Is that better?
I mean, they're all about the same. If you guys are seeing it from your screen, if you're on the main screen, it's not terrible.
I think that looks pretty good.
Okay. So we're good. to
Why
move
is that
forward.
one in gray? Shouldn't that just be in regular?
So here, watch this fun Microsoft Word problem that I don't know how to solve. If I click no color, it now becomes super colorful. So my solution to that for now is just to make it the most neutral
So
state.
you have to go in and change the green and
Right.
other ones to no color. They
Yeah,
essentially have two colors,
you've got like layers.
right?
You might be able to do a right click or something. See.
So now just do the green one.
I mean,
Oh
I tried
my.
this. I
Try
tried
a
this
right
earlier.
click on that. Try a right click and see if something comes up when you highlight it.
Like, Microsoft Word is
What the heck?
It has a mind of its own.
Tim, try just highlighting business and industrial noise and do the format painter. And then you can paint the other ones.
here. It might be this. There we go. Or they clear the formatting. That's what it is.
Business and industrial enforced. It's going to be enforced by the first line. The first line at the end, yeah, by.
I don't like the way this sentence is written. It's kind of like a weird, hard to digest way of doing it. I think if we're okay with it, the context is all here. Let's maybe pause on this and let Lisa come back with it. It's like a long run-on sentence with commas and things. It needs like,
Yeah, that needs a little work.
it needs not to be worked on in the like, you know, in this bigger group. It's all there. All the pieces are there. It just needs better sentence structure, and
Right.
now's not the best use of our time fixing that.
Right. We'll put in a little thing wordsmithing again. Let the wordsmith that. Because the Board of Health is not regulating it. It's already regulated by those things that the policies and the laws and the Code of Mass Regulation.
Right.
They're handling it. I don't know how, if that's the proper way of saying it, but. They're enforcing it. Yeah, I guess you could say they're enforcing it. With assistance by the police department. Right, okay.
And now take out the extra regulated.
This,
No, in the
No,
first
the one
line.
that's underlined.
Says You've got it twice up top.
Ooh, words. But then we got to double check with this DAC because now it's here and here, and I don't think it needs to be on the second one.
I think it's the first one should go, shouldn't it? Because isn't the
Right.
310 CMR is the major one?
Well, isn't it part of the same thing?
Yeah,
So isn't
Yeah,
it?
but
Isn't
the
it
the CMR,
you're repeating yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like I copied and pasted a lot of things as we were trying
Yeah.
to work through this live. So I think it's the DAQC policy, and this is where I'm not super familiar with what all these are, but I think it's the DAC.
no, if you look at Lisa's thing over on the left, it's the 310 CMR 710 is listed first.
Regulations.
And then the
Right.
other one is additionally.
Yeah.
Right.
But isn't this the piece? Like, isn't the Division of Air Quality Control policy with certain stationary sources, and that's the 310 CMR?
So yeah, it sounds like you need the 310 CMR 710 as a separate, like a comma, the CMR blah, blah, and as a separate thing, not in a parentheses. You need the policy and you need the MGL. You need all three. I think there's more to that 710. If you slide over, it's maybe there should be a parentheses within it.
Yeah, this is, we might be nitpicking this a bit more right now than
Well,
everybody's time. I mean, I agree this whole thing needs more time spent on it. We need to make sure that this thing complements this thing in the right way. And
The question for the town lawyer.
right.
Let them make sure that we've got this so that it reads correctly.
Hmm.
We should
I'm also-
specifically ask them to check that.
All right, if you want
well,
to check out another part of the document, need work on.
Lisa has a comment before we move on.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just wondering if we should include that last paragraph there after receiving a complaint, if that should be included in there. And it probably needs to be cleaned up because of the local board of health and stuff. But we may want to keep that there.
Well, it wouldn't be the local board of health, it'd be the Southborough Board. of
Southborough, yeah,
Right.
we have to clean that
We have
up a
to-
little bit, but I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of talks about how a complaint is handled.
I don't see any reason that this is extra to include in a negative way, but it is extra to include over what we talked about before. I don't,
Yeah.
is there, I mean, is this the policy of how it would be done through the keeping it simple?
Well, I
Or
thought
is-
before that the chief said, that obviously if the Board of Health isn't there, they're the ones that are in the night or on the weekends or whatever, and that's who people will logically call. I thought we already talked about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's adding anything. That's my only question. If it's,
Yeah, because it's going to be in Heather's Ballywick anyway, how they handle it.
Right.
I'm in the middle about it. For the sake of brevity, I would like to not include it, but for the sake of clarity, I don't see a problem including it. It's like,
Yeah,
is it at odds with anything else that we wrote, or is it clarifying? Is it,
as long as it's not at odds with the current Board of Health policy, if they have one on how to handle it. But I don't think they have a policy, right?
That's what Heather gave us.
Well, then,
That whole yellow section is what Heather gave us.
then, it wouldn't hurt to put it in there.
The yellow wasn't mine, only the green things were what I added.
Uh-huh.
Do we really need, like, can we end it at, can commercial source conduct a noise study? I mean, obviously, you're gonna get an acoustic engineer to do a noise study, and we're talking about it's in the Southborough noise bylaw, so we're kind of restating the obvious there.
All right, I'm okay with striking it.
I'm okay with striking it too.
Ditto. Strike.
John, do I hear anything? Did we lose him?
Yeah, it's fine. No, sorry, muted.
Oh, okay. Strike out. We can always add it in if she looks at it and says it would really help.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to wordsmith this section,
Mhm.
but otherwise we have the context of what we're going for here.
You may be able to clean that up when Lisa talks to her and say, look, this is what really governs it. We're basically looking for the rules, regulations, policies, and laws that govern industrial noise already. We just want to make sure we got the right ones.
Okay. Prohibited activities next.
Sure.
Keep trucking through it. Is there anything we need to get to? No. Okay.
Tim, I sent you something.
I have it off to the side here, but it's covered by Zoom. This is it. Whoa.
So I found the following. Okay, so I found a few that might address the private resident social events. It would go, so these three would go under prohibited activities. And I wanted you to, the first one, I wanted you to think about the animal, the reference to animal noise. This one puts a time frame in there, and it's between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. We could change that if we wanted to, if you wanted to make it 9 to 7, because I think there's a few things that we do 9 to 7, it's the trash. But it puts a time frame in there because the other one that's in there, I think, is at any time. I think, obviously it bothers people more at night.
Where do we put the animal?
I just saw it. Hold
was
on,
under
you're going too
prohibited
fast.
activities.
It's down a little bit. In number
It'd be number
8.
9. Number 9.
Okay. So this is in the prohibited activities section,
Yeah,
and it has no time frame. So Lisa, you're proposing
This one
something,
instead.
a variation of it, but with putting a time frame.
Yep.
But
And we could make it 9 to 7. We could adjust it in other ways.
I'd go for 9.
so you're supposed to tell your bird to be quiet?
Sometimes they are. My friend has a parrot, doesn't live in Southborough. Well, it's not a parrot, but it's parrot-like bird, and the bird understands.
Do you cover the cage? I forget what, it's like putting a rooster in the hen house, and hopefully they don't crow at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So keeping what we wrote already and just adding hours in. I know you have a completely different phrasing here.
Yeah, I pulled it from another bylaw.
So I propose that we just keep it as we wrote it and just add between the hours of 9 PM and 7 AM.
Okay, perfect. And then
Can I-
the next two would
Can I
go.
chime in on that for a second?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
So are we only limiting animal noise between 9 PM and 7 AM? Is that how I read it?
That would be correct for what the purpose of how it should be written.
So what
And that
happens
would-
to the dog that barks for 5 hours straight while the owners are away?
I know. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It should be, noise is noise.
Yeah, and
Well, you have work hours during the day, so daytime hours are being treated differently. So we would be treating daytime hours even more differently, which is fine. I'm just pointing it out that you could have somebody chopping down a tree, and you could have the dog barking be the reason that the
But
police can get done.
I think that might have been the reason we didn't have hours in there to begin with, because it's,
I mean, you
Um,
have to chop down a tree. You don't have to have your dog barking all day.
yeah.
I'll
You don't
tell
have
you
to have your
that
bird chirping all day, your rooster. I don't think there should be a time frame on animals at all.
Chief, what do you think?
yeah, I've never heard of something limiting it to overnight hours, which besides maybe a rooster, you'd never get an animal complaint. During the overnight hours. If somebody has a problem animal, it's the repetition of it.
Mhm.
Everybody realizes that they have dogs and whatever pets. It's just that the people who let it go on uncontrolled for hours. And
Yeah.
if you want, we could have our ACO who handles 5 different towns. If you want her to come on next week and maybe describe her experience, but just noise overall, animals would be an ongoing one if it moves in next to you. We get calls where, if somebody does have a problem in their neighborhood or their neighbor, we'll go back, 4, 5, 6 times or all through the year. And we did see a big uptick during COVID where people are working from home now all day. So I would just rather see this tackled once and for all. Some kind of, in a draft, it went over it, some guidelines. And like I said, the office is going to have discretion. Right now, we have them work with the ACO. She'll talk to the people. She'll try and work it out between the neighbors. It's been pretty successful, but you do get instances where, unfortunately, people are unreasonable.
I get rid of the hours.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that too. I just thought I'd bring it up. I saw it in another bylaw as I've been looking through things, and I just thought.
We had a full-time ACO in Westboro, and they also covered Grafton, and guess who was their supervisor?
The police.
Me. Yeah. So I had to review all the calls and strategies and and plus I also used to sleep during the day.
So we have that one, number 2.
And then number 2 and number 3 would address the social, the private residence. I think it will. My thoughts are those 2 would pretty much cover it. And so we wouldn't have to have something that specifically addressed private residence, parties, etc. That here's the timeframes. So you can take a look at those.
What do people think about that? Number 2.
How do those
Wondering if we
relate to
could-
disturbing the peace?
Huh?
Aren't those covered by disturbing the peace guidelines?
Yeah, it's, Tim, can you just click on it so we get the whole, no, the green too? The green number 2.
Yeah, it's all right here.
Okay,
It just looks weird.
okay. It just looks like it's, the words are cut off, but I guess they're not.
Yeah, it's because it's justified text.
Yeah.
Because I think of, like a social gathering, they might have music or they're talking and maybe they're a little bit louder, whistling, singing. Both of those might cover.
I mean, that is gonna open up the can for the jerk who says, hey, it's not 7 o'clock, I can be as loud as I want, and he has, you know, the thing blaring.
Right.
So for context, this is in the exempt column currently. And it's written as a private residence social event of a reasonable noise level between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. It's kind of written as that, as an exemption, saying that you're allowed to do these sorts of activities between these hours.
But how do you measure a reasonable noise level? I know it's discretion, right?
It was all discretion before to try to like
Yep.
come up with a common approach or a simplistic approach to it, but it wasn't perfect by any means.
Right.
And the other one, maybe it's hours, weekday hours and weekend hours that you can add to that. I mean, I think I would hope that during the week. It might
I think
not
it's gonna be, I understand what we're trying to do, but I think we're gonna be complicated. We got so many hours, so many days of the week now. Now we get, it's just gonna be like the junior operator law where everybody's just gonna get glazed over when they deal with this. They're gonna get nobody's gonna know, and it's just gonna, you shouldn't have to go to the call and read the law over and over and over before you get there to know what it is. It should be rather simple.
So if we
and
just.
if it isn't, it's just not gonna get enforced properly.
Mhm.
Lisa, why didn't you go with the draft language? I see that this comes from some other draft. We're kind of using, the 2017 draft as a guideline.
Well, we've been pulling a bunch of stuff in. Yeah. Do you have it in here?
I have it in front of me,
Oh,
but
you've got yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling, so singing, and between the hours of 11 and 7.
yeah, it basically
Maybe.
makes 11 and 7 quiet time.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the same thing, right? Maybe it's a little bit different because they put hours for weeknights for number 3. So yours is in there. It's very similar. But I don't know if I see anything around phonographs. Does anyone see it?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a phonograph?
Yeah,
Any-
nobody's using those anymore.
Yeah, it's all in that one. in
I
that-
still have my records.
Can we put
I
HVAC players
do
in there
too.
too?
I digitized them all though.
I thought
And
vinyl
Victrola,
records
too.
were making a big comeback.
I heard that.
Yeah, but I don't know if a phonograph is.
I have a Victrola,
Is that the big cone on there? You turn the. Those are in
not here,
cartoons.
it's in another house. So,
I like the D one a little better because it's a little more obvious and direct
I like the D one too.
and shorter.
So this is in prohibited activities,
mhm.
which is where
Yeah.
this is written. So if we keep in mind, and I know that we said work hours are not the same as other hours, but what's defining hours at the moment at the highest level for everybody. So I still think it falls in the exemption category of allowing this kind of activity. I think we should take the approach of allowing this activity until a certain time. And I know it's kind of a weird kind of, with the way that this is written, it's kind of a weird approach, because these are a lot of like negative sounding things. But the way that we wrote this was to exempt things that you do at your private residence until a certain time. Because at a default level, we have the standard hours kind of having some levels jurisdiction over what the quiet times and noisy times are.
So you're saying if we take D, we have to address the one we already have, that one liner?
Well, if we take D, this is in the prohibited activities of the 2017 draft. What I'm saying is, in the standards, we already have defined hours. I know these are considered work hours, but at the highest level, they're defining standards of hours of operating procedure. So we almost
Yep.
need to exempt anytime later as being okay, because right now it's being restricted.
Well, I think you're talking about different activities, though.
Yeah, it's completely
You're talking
different.
about work-related noise, and this other stuff you're talking about, basically disturbances.
But right now, what would happen, or how would you define somebody doing something late at night? Like, let's just say, let's ignore
Well, you'd
this.
have to see, it has to fit D,
We have prohibited, right?
right,
So put it in there.
of any other loud noises.
Oh, it's got tape recorders in there too.
Yeah, in prohibited.
Can you go back to D for just a moment? I was just reading.
So that's a combination. Right? Playing radio. Oh, so D combines 2 and 3 basically.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
I didn't realize that. That one's fine with me.
It basically also says disturb the reasonable quiet. So, an officer's going to go there. If it's two people talking on a pool deck, that's, their voices are reasonable, then, he's going to make that call. It's obviously some neighbors sleep with their windows open and they don't want to be exposed to anything, but I think it kind of gives a guideline, the reasonable comfort, reasonable quiet.
I like it.
I'm fine with it.
I like it too.
So we're going to put this in the prohibited section
Yeah.
Correct.
and delete the section that we had in the exemption section.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you can wordsmith the technology.
Mhm.
I know it's changed since 2017, right? Sorry.
Geez, even an iPod would be outdated now.
Yep. Just trying to make sure that it says that it pertains to making the noise if the noise emanates from a private residence, that because there's the first part of it is all addressing public.
Right.
Can you push it over, Tim, so I can see all the words?
It says or any dwelling
Yeah.
What's it say in the other one?
or other type of residence.
Mm.
I'll tell you, in town I live in, they had a big, it's probably still ongoing, is people there's a small lake reservoir where there's houses, and it became very popular for people renting it out as Airbnbs.
Yeah.
And it started to be late night activity, all nights of the week. And that became a big issue. So hopefully never comes to Southborough, but this is the type of stuff that you're starting to look at.
In the third line from the bottom, a public place, a ways to which the public has a right of access. I'm not sure that a ways is, that's not clear to me.
Yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling.
I think it meant like a public way.
Yeah, a way is like a private road is a way.
Oh, okay, all right,
Like my driveway,
okay. Okay, I get it.
maybe.
Public way or public place.
I don't know if I mentioned this when we did this, and I asked the chiefs for anybody that had some good noise ordinances that didn't involve the use of a noise meter. I did notice that a lot of these came from kind of tourist towns like the Cape or the North Shore, where like some of the stuff I mentioned earlier, a lot of rentals or beachfront or things like that. So this kind of addresses, people being in the roadway, that type of stuff that goes on, later at night, like, party type stuff. I think that's where some of the wording might come from.
A way is like a shopping plaza. If the public's invited there it's private property, but the public's invited as a way. You can't there's certain laws that don't apply, like chapter 90 won't apply to a way. Most of chapter 90,
Mhm. Okay,
but this would.
I guess it could even be kids pulling up in back parking lots and, opening up their trunk lids, playing music and socializing, any of that type of stuff.
Can I eliminate phonograph? Just so
Yeah,
that-
I would think you could do that.
How about just stereo? Stereo?
We could put hi-fi in.
Could put music system.
I would say music system, because stereo actually means it's like a right and left. It could be monaural.
there, I like that, because that covers radios, photographs, anything,
Right.
really.
And phones, right?
Yeah,
Nobody uses tape recorders anymore either, I think. It's all digital.
Well, just in case there's someone out there.
Well, you got
Their
electronic sound
boombox.
producing devices.
They'd still have to have the amplifier.
Yeah.
Can you eliminate,
Still
can you
got
just
it.
eliminate all
electronic
that?
sound producing devices. I think it's covered.
John, I think John has a good idea. John,
Does it
what-
matter? Who cares where the sound comes from? Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right,
Making any
right.
such noise.
Yeah.
Amplified,
Right,
electronically amplified.
I don't think you even need that. Just because noise is noise. Whether you amplify it or whether they hoot and holler loud enough. I mean, I've heard a lot of people whistle in my close enough to me to make me deaf.
Does somebody have a concise direction for me right this second? I'm looking at a lot of words.
Or the making of any such noise, and then 2 lines down.
What, any
But
loud
take away
noises?
from the comma, yep. All the way to disturb, nope, to,
To annoy or disturb.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, yelling, shouting, or making, the making of any, take out other before loud noises. In the first sentence. I don't think we really need other, if any loud noises on the public streets, in a public place or any place between now or the making of any such noise so as to annoy or disturb.
How about playing of music? Should that be in those first couple of words there? Yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling, singing,
Or
playing of music, or making any loud noises?
Yeah.
Playing music or the making of any loud noises in the public streets.
Yeah, so actually playing music is the records, the phonographs, the whatevers. Yeah,
Or the making of any such noise so as to annoy and disturb. So that covers public ways as well as Private residence.
dwellings.
And
So
private residence.
what
Covers
is
everything.
not covered between the first part and the last part of 9?
What?
So it sounds like between public streets, public places, places to which the public has a right of access, and then continuing down public ways, a public place, ways that the public has a right of access to, hotels, hospitals, other types of residence or office and buildings. What isn't covered?
Or any person in the vicinity.
In other words, if we got rid of all of these qualifiers,
Oh,
then we would have the
I
noise
get it.
not allowed anywhere.
There
So
you go.
the question is it what is exempted from this list?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea.
Because I think that's where I was getting confused on as to what it was, whether it was referring to public spaces or whether it was referring to, all spaces. Because, mostly we're concerned with the noise
Yeah.
that we hear in our house.
Yep.
On our property.
So could we just say that within the town of Southborough?
Right.
Well, we don't need to say within the town because.
Right, because
Yeah, it only applies to the town.
So if we eliminate what I just struck through, yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling, singing, playing music, or the making of any loud noises between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., or the making of any such noise as to annoy or disturb the reasonable quiet, comfort, or repose of identified persons is
Is
prohibited.
prohibited.
Yeah.
That works totally. That's much more direct.
Here we go.
And I think that's a lot less confusing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
So the question is,
Good job.
what did we just do in terms of, did we now ban all these noises too much? Is there some place that should be allowed to make that noise that needs to go in an exemption between 11 and 7? I can't think of any place that should be allowed to make this noise between 11 and 7, right?
We already
I
have
can
covered
whistle in
other.
my house, right? Can I whistle and shout in my house?
Are you disturbing your neighbor?
Right, but does that disturb the comfort or repose of an identified person?
Maybe someone in the next room over.
So then they'd have to complain about you.
right.
Exactly. So it all comes
But then you
down
have a different
to
kind of
complaining.
complaint.
Do we need identified person sounds weird to me.
Yeah.
What does
Well, that just means can't be anonymous. It just gives validity to the complaint. If somebody calls, they make themselves known.
okay? So it's
So
a
you can't call up and say, the people that, I don't want to say who I am, but the people across the street from me are
Yeah.
and you won't even give your name. Yeah, I get
Right.
that.
I mean,
That
you
makes
can
sense.
call and make that, but then the police officer has to be the identified person.
Uh-huh.
So the police officer would have to go there and actually hear it. But otherwise, it would be the identified person would be the person.
Okay, so does that
Now,
cover?
grammatically, the way that's written, because there's an or there, so the 11 to 7 only pertains to what is in the sentence before it. The 11 to 7 doesn't apply to what's after the or.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, so just move the 11 to 7.
Now,
And
doesn't necessarily, well,
No, just move the 11 to 7 to the end of the list.
correct.
Right.
Right.
I think you still need the and in there, right? And
Yeah, you do need the and still,
yeah, and the making of such noise
right,
and the
right.
keep going. Nope. And the making
Oh,
No, or.
Or was right there.
or
sorry guys, trying to keep up with where we are.
and yeah, right there.
You're doing a
And
great job too.
You are.
You are doing a great job. You have all those documents pulled up, fantastic.
Yeah. Well, The making of any loud noises and the making of any such noise.
It's redundant now.
Yeah, you don't need the and the making of any such noise. You've already said it. Yelling, shouting. hooting.
Boy, that got nice and short and sweet.
I think that's
That's
perfect.
much better. 3 lines instead,
It's
and I
awesome.
think we get the same meaning out of it.
So
Right.
can we,
Uh,
can
I'm
we
not
just make-
confused now.
Yeah,
What?
neither am
I'm
I.
not confused.
Shouting, hooting, and singing, playing music, or any loud noises, so as to annoy, disturb the reason.
Can this just be the bylaw?
I mean, it's functionally one of the hearts of the bylaw.
Is that a motion? Is that a motion? It did address the quiet hours that we were kind of looking to do.
So
Yeah,
I,
that's great.
I'd like to move that up to number 1 in this section.
Fine with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Is it gonna screw up your,
Yeah,
No.
Wordle numbered.
It's actually working here. Okay, so are we good with this one? Any more wordsmithing?
it looks pretty good to me.
Okay.
We gotta revisit the, for the animal noise, the officers need some type of guideline. It can't just be, I show up and the dog's barking. I remember at, my old, employ, it used to be the better part, say it was a dog barking, it had to be documented that, the dog, the better part of 15 minutes. I know in this one, it makes reference to so many, in the draft bylaw, so many vocalizations, within some period of time, but the officers need some type of guideline on what constitutes it being unreasonable. So I just think we need to be more descriptive there, especially anything dealing with the animals. People are going to want more of an explanation on what constitutes a violation.
Wouldn't it be for a duration of more than XX minutes?
Let me see what's in the draft. And again, we're always going to try to solve this between neighbors. These are just kind of like last resorts where, we can't solve the problem.
There we go. I see it's on page 3, number D, or number D, letter D.
5 minutes. I thought it was 5 minutes.
Can I tell you guys a funny story?
Sure.
We're on tape.
I don't care.
Your comedy
That was
routine?
funny.
I have a cat and he likes to go outside. And he goes to my neighbors and he just sits outside their door and he happens to pick the neighbors that have cats that live indoors. And the cats don't like my cat. And so they start howling and yowling. And so my cat's not making a noise, but those cats inside the house are making a lot of noise.
So there, just the last part of D, it's an affirmative defense that the caged animal was intentionally provoked to make other noise.
He's just inviting them to come outside and play.
Do we need, do I copy and paste this or do we like the simpler, shorter approach and try to add a little bit more to it? That's like,
I like the shorter one and just figure out the minutes.
this is defining what the minutes are. But like if we just put down 20 minutes, which is the higher of the two numbers right here. Disruptive noise for duration of more than 20 minutes, 20 consecutive minutes.
Yeah, duration of more than 20 minutes.
It says intermittently.
Yeah,
I mean,
they talk about 5 minutes consistent and 20 minutes intermittently. Number one is 5 minutes without interruption, so that means, constant. And then 20 minutes, not constant.
So Chief, would you write it this way again today, or would you write it differently?
I think it gives a good guideline. Like I said, I remember at my last employment, it was the better part of 15 minutes. I don't know how many officers are going to sit there for 15 minutes listening to it. So this kind of gives it a better definition. I want to tell you too, I've dealt with some of this in my personal life, but technology always advances. So I've had a couple instances, and I tell people this, that even call the station now or have a problem, pull out your cell phone and record it. I mean, you can't refute that. Especially when we send the dog officer to intervene. It's like, hey, put your cell phone on and show them what's going on. And it's really effective. So I like this. I can work with it. I can also contact the ACO tomorrow and show her the language. She would see what she thinks of it, and we can revisit it next week.
That'd be good.
Yeah, can we just put it in yellow? Guys, it's like
Yeah,
10, it's almost 20 past and we still have more of the agenda to get
know,
through.
yeah.
Can we move on?
Yep, I think we should, that's a great idea.
So sorry, I know we want to move on, and I'm going to put this in yellow.
Yeah.
Do we want this section I just highlighted in blue just to go in there, or is that not needed?
No, we're gonna highlight it in yellow in number 9 on our document, right?
So just this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because,
We need to
we have
return.
to work some more on it.
yeah.
Okay.
all right, let's end the discussion on the outline. And public, do we have anybody in the public forum?
Debbie's still there. She stuck it out with us.
Does she have any comments?
Do you have
I
a
thought
comment at all?
Preparing for the public forum was what are we gonna do when?
Right. So I have the public forum on for the 17th. Are we pretty confident we're gonna have, well, we're gonna make some headway because we've got one more meeting between then.
Yep.
And
So we need to get this document into a state we feel comfortable to share it. We thought we'd be further along tonight with this thing a little bit further, but we spent a lot of time on a section we're going to spend time on again next week because we're going to get more input. So how do we feel about the state of getting, let's see here, sorry.
we can move the public forum another week.
I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah, let's do that.
And the 23rd is that, I believe, oh, maybe that's the 16th. About the town has that lawyer available.
Yes.
I sent you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but I sent you guys a quick email. I guess the town has a lawyer that's available for 2 hours a month or something that committees can go and run things by him. I got a request into Mr. Purple to have the guy review, or girl or gal, whatever, review what we have for any snags. So it'd be probably better to have that done before we do much as far as the form goes.
So in terms of the public forum, I'm in favor of the 24th
That's fine with me.
Let's do that.
to be the public forum. That gives us the 10th and the
Another
17th
week.
to be good.
Okay.
And the goal would be to share the ending document from the 17th and give people 1 week to read it. Is that what we
I think
feel?
that's good.
1 week to review it and to come with any questions or comments for that day, and then it's more of an open dialogue point from that point.
Yeah,
What time are we talking about? We want to stick to 7 o'clock?
Yep.
Yeah, because then that would give us time for a meeting afterwards if we need
Correct,
to.
yeah. Okay. Cindy, can you handle advertising that with the DPW on that board? That gives you enough time, right?
Yes, so what are we going to say? Public noise bylaw, public
noise-
forum, and the date and the time?
Yeah. And on Zoom, or whatever, I don't know how you reference that, but I mean, it's not
I'll
gonna be.
have to figure out what I asked him to put up before. Okay,
Well, before we did the,
it was the
survey
survey.
on that board. Now we want to do a public forum.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Are we comfortable starting the promotion of that right away, or do we want to start the promotion of that after next week's meeting? I mean,
Yeah, I
we
think
need to do
we
it
need to
sooner
get
or later.
we need to get more of a finalized document, and then we can talk about promoting it. Go ahead, Lisa.
So I have a suggestion, and I actually sent something to Tim. Tim, did you get it? It was
Yeah, I got
a
it.
flyer.
I can pull it up.
So obviously I was thinking the 17th, we can change the dates to the 14th. But I'm also wondering, I don't know if you want to just pull it up, but I
Yeah.
think within that announcement, I mean, I think we need to see if the town can post something. And within that announcement, we need to send off the draft. But I'm also suggesting that we also provide the report of the survey in there so that we're transparent. My other thought is, though, I'm thinking about this, maybe just the draft goes with this. I'm wondering if we should send off a note this week to, maybe we should send a note off through the blog. Maybe we should send a note off to the 125 people that gave us their emails. Give them an update, show them the report, and potentially even just show them the draft that we have so far, because it is a public document, and let them know that we are planning for our forum on the 24th. So a couple of messages going out so that they're aware, they can start reading up on it, and it's available to them.
Well, I think we should release what we're going to agree on as pretty much a final document. I don't think we should. We're in the process of making changes, and I don't think it would be prudent to release that information. It's just going to muddle the waters. We've got to get more defined.
I mean, release it in the form of a direct reach out, right? I mean, it's all public information at this point, but it's like if we gave it to some people, there's a lot of questions in there. It may not have the right
It's
level.
going to be confusing. I think we're going to confuse people if we say,
So yeah, that's what I was saying. So the draft can go out with the public hearing, we have somewhat finalized, but maybe this week we could just send a note out to our list of people that asked for updates, and we could do an update and maybe include the results of the survey and let them know, just a reminder, minutes are available. You can go back and read up on what we've been discussing and get ready for the public hearing on February 24th. We'll be sending a draft document the week before, something like that. And then, it'd be great if Beth could maybe put something in the blog. Maybe she could share the survey report. I think that's important that, that the town knows that there were 300 and some odd people that completed it. Here are the results. This is what we're working with. We really want your feedback. And maybe people will say, oh, I definitely need to tune into this.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea, you know.
No, it's a-
We can talk more about that, and Lisa, if you can write that in like a paragraph form that could be sent out as like a pseudo
Wait a
email.
minute, it was already on my Southborough, right?
Yeah, the Beth did a whole write-up about the report in my
Yeah.
Southborough on the 28th.
Oh, I don't think I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has the whole thing broken down, infographic. The 55 pages are uploaded here as well.
No
Yeah.
comments,
Right.
huh?
It's already been
That wasn't too long ago.
semi-written up. I looked on this before this meeting. There's no comments on it yet.
Huh.
So we
January
could
28th.
always, in sending out your notice to the people, include a link to this.
Yeah.
The town lets us link to it.
So Lisa,
I'm
let's-
wondering if we could just include the direct report too.
Yeah, the town may not want us to link to it,
Yeah.
to this, because it's outside the town. They may
Yeah.
just want us to link to the
The
report
report.
on the town's website.
Yeah, that would be good. Is the report on the town website?
I mean, it is because we included it. I mean, as far as I know, and John may know this a lot better. I hope you do anyway. Most of the information that comes from here is all public record from the town's website and Freedom of Information Acts.
Correct. The issue is the town doesn't control my wife, so that's why they've been really restrictive of having her more involved. So, but it's all public record.
I know
that
we
she
submitted
posts.
the results to the selectmen's meeting in their packet, so that's all public record.
Okay. Yeah, no,
But
I mean, we've got 125 people that wanted updates. I think we
Right.
Yeah,
should give
and
them,
then-
give
yeah,
them an,
give it-
Lisa, for homework, can you draft a email that you would potentially send out to those 125 people? And then at the next meeting, we'll tweak it? Were you willing to do that? It's basically just what you said, just put it in writing.
I'd be happy to do that. Does someone,
Yeah.
well, that's fine.
Whose email account do we want this to go from? Because we don't have a noise. We don't have proxy, as far as I know, we don't have proxy sending
Oh,
from a noise bylaw email at southborough.com. We
Yeah, that's
might,
gonna be, how are we gonna send emails? Like, we're gonna have to type in all 120 emails?
well, we have the emails from the document, so it's an effort to copy paste into there. That's not overly hard to do. But I need to find out, I'll take it on. I'll ask Jay if there's a way to send it from the noise bylaw account at Southborough.
Yeah, they can just create an account for us.
Yeah.
They'll create an email for
We
the
can send it
ballot.
from my account, and we'll just, in the document, we'll all put our names in it.
Okay, we can send it from your account. We need the BCC, the distro list. So that way people don't see each other's emails on.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
But you know, like we can do that. We can make a distro list from your email and send it out. But anybody that replies is going to your email then on your town email.
I think they could probably make us an account. So like, I know you can send stuff off to committees and it doesn't, I'm trying to
It
think.
takes them 5 minutes to make another email.
Yeah, I mean, I would like
I'll-
to see responses and stuff.
I'll reach out to Jay and I'll ask Jay directly what we can do. And I'll
That'd
take
be
that as
good.
an action item.
Yeah.
So that's good then. Lisa will have a version of the email ready. I can also look at the list and be able to populate from the Excel doc that we were given of the survey, the emails that we have and try to consolidate them into one list. And hopefully
That's
they're
good.
real.
So I don't know if this helps, but I know when my kids were younger, they used to come home with pamphlets from different things happening in the town. So I think my wife had, if I can remember correctly, if you get a flyer to the school system early enough, they can include it in the kids' packages when they go home early in the week. So that would give you access to every family with kids in our school system. that we haven't done before.
Is that like a virtual backpack? Is that what they do?
I don't know if it's virtual or I would, I send out to print whatever we need to print and deliver if that's possible. But that's one way to get all our, a lot of families to at least see the flyer either physically or virtually.
Yeah.
So end of next week's meeting, though, we should have all this stuff finalized that we can put our plan into action. That's the idea.
Yeah, and that would give us plenty of time to decide on the different avenues to advertise for the following week.
Is it the town clerk that does the postings on the town website? Like I know there's public
Yeah.
forums.
Katie did a lot of that stuff. Right?
Katie Berry.
Yeah. And who do we work with for the survey? Why am I drawing?
Vanessa.
Vanessa Hale.
And Barry, the person was
Katie.
Katie Barry, yeah.
Well, there's also an Amy, isn't there, in
Yeah,
the
I bel-
selectman's office that
I
works
believe-
with Vanessa?
I believe they're related.
Go ahead.
Do they do the tweet too? I know that
Yep.
there's like,
Yep.
okay.
Vanessa does the tweeting, yeah.
Yeah. Vanessa and Katie should be together on the correspondence.
Okay.
So for the, I kind of want to go over the agenda for next meeting. So we're all, so I'm not saying it in the right order, but we're going to go over some sort of an email that we're going to send out as a committee to the folks that said they wanted an email with an update. We're going to have an election for the vice chairman. We're going to work on the outlining some more, and we're going to talk about how we're going to promote the forum.
Yep. We should rename it from outline to draft
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's now draft version 3, so it just lines up with what the title
Okay.
is.
Yep.
And we should have public comment twice, maybe beginning and ending of our meeting,
That'd be good.
just because anybody that wants to stay can, and I also, we need a motion to end public comment. So I make a motion to end public comment.
Second. All those in favor? You stick your thumb up and it's unanimous.
I think that is an actual thing we have to do. So we talked about it earlier and then we never officially closed it.
Anything else you guys want to see on the agenda?
I think that'll probably turn out to be enough.
Well, we already talked about scheduling future meetings, so we're good on that at this point.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the 24th has to be
we
scheduled.
just added the
24th,
Thursday, the
yeah.
24th. Presumably at 7 also, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'll post for the 10th.
Okay.
I'll make the agenda up tomorrow and send that in, so we'll be good there.
Okay,
And I'm gonna send the meeting minutes for 127 in. So we're good? Motion to,
okay, whoa. So,
come on,
sorry, the minutes from the 27th, those are the ones I did, right? So I don't need to send them to you, or?
I don't know, I just have on my list, I don't know who wrote them.
Yeah, Cindy
Cindy
wrote
wrote
those. They're in your inbox. We approved them as they were written at the
Yeah.
beginning of the meeting. So we're good there. And then the
I
attachment.
think I need to send them to you with the attachments.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Pete, you got approval of minutes on your agenda? I know it lives there, but
yeah, that's just a standard one, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the scribe, the whole column, yeah, and yeah. Who's up for scribe next week?
Might be me again,
Okay,
because Tim's got his hand full and
Yeah.
you're our leader.
He's
Yeah.
scribing too.
Yeah.
all right, are we good now? Can we,
One last thing. What do I need to include in I normally send my wrap up email. I just want to make sure all the documents that we did, I send out now before I get messed up and forget. So I need to send
So you have
out,
to send version 3.
yep, version 3. We already did the chief stuff. Do I have to send all that again? All like the
No.
previous documents?
No,
no,
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay,
That was
so-
just discussion.
Okay,
So
just
we don't-
making sure I'm not
It
going
should be
through like
out
the whole thing. Okay, so it's really only new things that we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I make a motion to end the meeting.
Second,
Okay.
we'll do a roll call. Tim,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Pete, yes, Lisa,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Thanks, folks, for spending the nice long evening with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.